Welcome to this week's live weekly warm-up. This one is perfect for this week because it has to do with Christmas tree long tones, which we've talked about a few times before actually on different live weekly warm-ups, but it is absolutely one of my favorite warm-up exercises. And I actually have some very exciting new information. Before, when we've gone over it, I've sort of said, I'm not exactly sure why this is called Christmas tree. I think I've had some hypotheses before, but I recently came across a blog post on the wonderful blog of Jenny McClay at jennyclarinet.com that talked about the Christmas tree effect, and it's exactly what this exercise is all about. So I'm super excited to actually know the true meaning of the Christmas tree long tones and where that title of Christmas tree comes from. And I'm going to share that with you. But first, I want to talk about a couple important things. First, there is a new free training that I've put together for Quick Start Clarinet as sort of an end of 2020 gift, and just a training that I thought would be nice to have and nice to put together. I call it the 5 must-know clarinet tips, and it covers all kinds of different general musical stuff and some clarinet specific stuff, talking about fundamentals and rhythm and a whole bunch of things. It's over an hour long of training. So if you're interested in some really in-depth training on some things that I think all musicians should think more about and consider more deeply, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/training to check that out. Then the second thing that I want to make sure you know about is towards the end of 2020 here, I'm doing a little bit of a subscriber drive for the Quick Start Clarinet YouTube channel, where I'm trying to get 750 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm already over 650, so we have about 2 weeks, just a little bit of time left here at the end of the year, 10 days, I guess, to be exact, to get another 100 subscribers. I think it's going to be a stretch, but I think it's doable, and it would be immensely helpful and so meaningful to me if you're able to share this with a clarinet playing colleague or friend. Send them to the Quick Start Clarinet YouTube channel, have them subscribe. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribed. And I think it would be great for you if you're interested in more clarinet tips and tricks. But without further ado, let's get into the meaning behind the Christmas tree long tones. So if you don't know, if you haven't seen my previous videos on these long tones, basically what it is we're playing an ascending chromatic scale, but returning to the first note between. So say it's starting on C, you do C, C sharp, back down to C, D, back down to C, D sharp, back down to C, and so on and so forth for an octave. With this, it's all about getting matching, beautiful sound, just like all long tones are about sound quality and making sure that every note's sounding exactly the way that you want. But where the title of Christmas tree comes from has to do with what Jenny McClay is calling the Christmas tree effect in her blog post. And there's a link to that in the description if you want to see the original blog post too. I actually came across it while researching for my resonance fingering video that I posted about a month ago or so. But anyways, she calls it the Christmas tree effect, which is the natural tendency of the clarinet to sound very full and maybe sometimes even a little bit spread on the lowest notes and sort of thin and narrow in the highest notes, resulting in a sort of Christmas tree or pyramid effect to the sound, where the low notes are sort of spread, the high notes are thin, sort of like this. So as you play through the range of the instrument, you're going from these really big, wide, low notes to these really narrow, higher notes in terms of sound quality. And that's the natural tendency of the clarinet. However, we don't really want that to happen when we're actually playing. In music, we shouldn't have a different sound quality just because we're playing in a different register. And that's what the point of Christmas tree long tones are, and what we're trying to combat in the Christmas tree long tones. So as you return back down to that lower note, you want to make sure that the low note is nice and solid and contained, but you also want to make sure that it's matching as you go up to the higher notes, so that the higher notes have the same sort of quality of sound to them, same sort of core to the sound. It's also really important and really a nice exercise to just hear the tendency of all the different notes anyways, because you're going up the chromatic scale. So if you can get that foundation really solid, really comfortable, and then match every single note above it exactly, then you'll be sounding great throughout the whole range of the instrument as you continue to practice throughout the whole range of the instrument for the Christmas tree long tones. So today I'm going to demonstrate a little bit different. I think in the past I've started on C, and I think I've started on this E, but today I'm going to start actually on the low E, so we can really think about containing or controlling or getting a good focus to the lowest notes of the instrument and then matching that as it goes up. Another thing that happens, and this is why I was in the sort of resonance fingering area, is as we go from long tube notes like that low E where everything's covered and the whole instrument's resonating to a much more short tube note, this E, where the air is escaping through here and you only have this much clarinet resonating. That's another challenge where we have to really work to go from full body note to not narrow short tubed notes. And that's what these exercises are all about and what you should be thinking about and experimenting with as you do this. So let me go ahead and demonstrate so you can hear the exercise, and then we'll wrap it up after that. So another thing that's really helpful with this too is to play these very, very soft. When I first learned Christmas Tree, and for the first maybe 5 years that I played this exercise, I always did it pianissimo, ultra soft, still a clear, focused, projecting sound, but as soft as you possibly can play without any fuzziness. And I think, again, that helps to sort of bring in this lower register and make it sounding really good so that you get rather than where it starts to spread and be unfocused. This is a perfect example of a note that's kind of fuzzy and doesn't sound quite as good as all of the other notes. So I'm going to keep working with it, experimenting, and trying to get exactly the sound I want. It's also starting to have that Christmas tree effect where it's a little bit thinner and more narrow on that note, in particular the C sharp, than the E. So I'm getting that ha when I come back down. So I'm going to try to even that out. And you can hear how that's really quite a lot of work. Who knew some simple long tones could take so much effort to really play correctly? And honestly, I played that exact exercise in that exact same octave for probably 8 months every single time that I practiced when I started. And I've played that exercise hundreds of times since I first learned it back in 2012, I think, is when I started playing this exercise. So 8 years later, I'm still playing it. I'm still getting a lot out of it because I'm really thinking about the right things in the long tones to think about the sound quality, keep experimenting, keep working on it to get my sound better and better, and to get that Christmas tree effect more reined in so that we're all nice and even up and down the whole range of the instrument as you practice this in higher octaves and further on and so forth. So I hope that's been helpful. I think this week was a perfect week because Christmas is coming up on this Friday. So I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. I hope everybody has had wonderful, happy holidays. Everybody's staying safe and healthy. And I hope 2021 is a great new year, hopefully with 750 new subscribers and with all of you having some really awesome training, both here in the live weekly warm-ups, my other videos. I have a video that I'm going to be working on later today that's going to be posted this Saturday that I think is going to be a really awesome one. And then, of course, the over hour-long free training at quickstartclarinet.com/training. So that's all of my holiday gifts for all of you. Just a reminder, I won't be doing a live weekly warm-up next week. I'll be sort of taking that off for the end of the year. So this was the last live weekly warm-up of 2020. This Saturday's video will be the last normal video, Saturday video of 2020. So I hope you all have a great finish to your year and a really wonderful 2021. And we'll be back then with more live weekly warm-ups. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next year.